What if I told you that one of my coaching clients bought two self-storage facilities for a total of $850,000 without using a bank? Oh, and he found these deals driving for dollars, which is something we call inside of our Storage Wins community, driving for storage dollars. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how he did it so that you can replicate his success. Now, what you're about to hear is from a recent Storage Wins group coaching call, and you're going to hear from Casey, and he's going to share with you how he found this deal, how he funded the deal, how he structured it, and ultimately how he ended up closing his second facility just 9 months after he joined the Storage Wins community. Now, for perspective and context, Casey is somebody who didn't have any experience, had never owned or operated a storage facility, and was able to find and buy his first facility in just 91 days. Now, let me be the first to tell you that that is not typical. That is an anomaly. Casey followed our proven process. He took massive imperfect action. He kept his eyes open and he was able to close on his first facility. But the story gets better because just 6 months later, he found and closed his second self-storage facility, again, without using the banks in just 9 months. So Casey was able to turn both sellers into the bank. It's something we call seller financing. So what you're about to hear actually is just a private inside exclusive look into our Storage Wins coaching community. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and play Casey sharing the story of how he found this deal, how he was able to overcome some of the challenges, how he was able to close the deal, the support that he got from myself in the community. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause in certain areas and I'm going to give you some detailed breakdown analysis so that you can take, hopefully Casey's story inspires you, and then you can go out and take massive imperfect action and go find your first or next self-storage facility. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into this video.
So this facility I found traveling across Oregon. It's in Central Oregon. Yeah, we located it. We found it. It was in the middle of nowhere in this tiny little town. And I could tell just by looking at it, it was in pretty rough shape.
So let me go ahead and pause right there. Casey mentioned the tiny little town, and I think it's important that I elaborate on what he means by that. So we like to look for storage in what we call secondary markets or rural markets. So this particular facility that Casey purchased was more in a rural part of town, population about 1,400 people, which is definitely on the smaller side. You know, typically speaking, we like 5 to 10,000 as a minimum and up. Now, having said that, Casey structured great seller financing terms. He bought it at the right price. And as you're about to hear, the facility is over 90% occupancy with room for growth. So that is the reason that this particular deal made sense. But when you hear Casey talk about a tiny, small town, that's what he's referring to.
I tracked the owners down online, and one of the owners, the head registered agent on the LLC, lives in the same town I live in. And she's a realtor here. So that was kind of just really lucky coincidence because the facility is quite a ways from where I live. But I contacted her, and yeah, it was actually she actually wanted to sell it. She said it was listed. But as what was funny is I don't know where she had it listed or how she listed it at the time, but I couldn't even find it online. The phone number on I've talked about this facility once before, but the phone number out in front of the facility was not even active.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there in what Casey just said, but the first thing we do is we always go on Google Maps and we find these facilities, and we will just call the phone number that's listed in Google Maps. And sometimes the business doesn't even have a Google My Business listing. Sometimes there's not even a phone number. And even if there is, you may call and you may reach the storage owner or you may reach an office manager. But what Casey was able to do was go into the public records of this particular county and look at the registered agent on the LLC, and he was able to essentially just skip trace. Now, there's several services out there that you can use, like batch skip tracing. You can use some free ones like True People Finder, I believe, is a really good one. So there's a lot of free and paid services out there where you can essentially just put in some information and get phone numbers for the registered agent of an entity or the owner of a property. And that's exactly what Casey did. He actually didn't have to pay for the skip tracing. He just went online. He found the registered agent, which is public information, registered for that limited liability company. And then he was able to just do some online digging, found the storage owner's phone number and just called them, right? And by the way, the cool thing is that he found this deal while driving. I think he was going hunting, or I think he was going on vacation to the other part of Oregon. And one of the things that we teach our clients within Storage Wins is anytime you go driving, keep an eye out for storage. And when you see a sign, when you see a storage facility, take a picture, jot down the general location, and then just pick up the phone, smile, and dial. So that's the first thing. The other thing was that this is one of the reasons I love storage. So this storage facility that he called, the phone number on the sign wasn't even accurate. So if the phone number wasn't accurate, that tells you that it is a mom and pop storage owner who just doesn't have operations dialed in, to say the least, right? If the phone number on the sign isn't working. So, what's interesting is that Casey explained to us how the seller told him that the property was listed, but by listed, what the storage owner meant was that she put it on some random websites online. In other words, this owner didn't know that this facility had to be listed on LoopNet, Crexi, which essentially is like the commercial MLS where storage facilities get listed. So let's hop right back into the video.
So once I contacted her, got some information, she wanted to sell it. I'm like, okay. She started sending me the numbers and stuff on it. And it looked decent as far as occupancy. It was like 95% full, which I couldn't believe either, because it literally, I was like, this thing could be vacant the way it looks, but it's built. The bones of it are really good. It's on like 2.5 or almost 3 acres. It's 15,000 square feet. I think it's like 79 units.
Nice.
But there's a ton of room for value add. They're way low on the rents. It's a super easy lot to build onto. So we negotiated a purchase price at $650,000, came in at $50,000 down. They're going to carry the note for 5 years at 5% with the option to extend the owner carry. So we're going to kind of see how that goes.
So I'm going to go ahead and pause right here. So you just heard Casey share how he was able to put $50,000 down and got the owner to carry $600,000. So essentially the owner became the bank and provided the financing. So Casey didn't have to go to a bank. He didn't have to get a credit check. He didn't have to go get an appraisal or any of these things that traditional banks are going to make you, the hoops that the traditional banks are going to make you jump through. Essentially, he was able to get a lower interest rate than what is currently on the open market. He was able to get 5%. And that came with really attractive terms on a facility that is north of 90% occupancy and is going to allow him to cash flow. Now, the other thing that I think is important to highlight is he mentioned value add. And if you're not familiar with what that means, is we look for storage facilities where they're valued here based on the current net operating income. In other words, the income that the asset produces. But there is the ability to raise the value based on certain things. So one thing that Casey alluded to was the rates of this particular facility are well below what they could be, right? So in other words, when Casey purchases this facility, he is now able to go in and raise the rates, which is going to increase the revenue of the facility and ultimately increase the net operating income. So just by raising the rates, it's going to have an exponential increase and impact on the overall value of the facility.
And yeah, that's kind of where we're at on it right now.
Dude, so that's fantastic, man. Again, I know everybody's really happy for you, proud of you. So that is the second, correct me if I'm wrong, you've bought 2 storage facilities now, both essentially driving for dollars, right? Like you were not really driving for dollars, but you were
Sure.
You were traveling and you just have been keeping your eyes out for storage. You pick up the phone, you call. This is also the second deal that you negotiate some type of seller financing, correct?
That is correct. Yes. They're both. Yes. Yep. So yeah. I mean, and I've drove to many other facilities. I have 2 or 3 others kind of on the hook, but nothing for sure. But I've drove to all those too. And they're all ones if I'm driving and I see something, I'll just pull in and stuff.
So whenever you are out there driving, especially if you're in a smaller city or town, a secondary market, think of population 5,000-10,000 people all the way up to 60,000-70,000 people. Or if you're traveling to go visit friends or family, or you're going on a road trip or vacation, always keep an eye out for storage. And here's a pro tip. Share this strategy with friends, family, people in your ecosystem, that when they're traveling, if they come across mom and pop storage facilities, and inevitably they will, is take a a picture, make sure that you can visibly see the phone number, and text it or email it to you, and let them know that if you end up buying the storage facility, then you will reward them handsomely. In other words, you will compensate them in order for just sending a text message. I do that with a lot of people, and on a pretty much on a weekly basis, I get opportunities sent to me.
So,
Yeah,
but
beautiful.
yeah. Oh, yes.
Congratulations, man. That's fantastic. Guys,
Thank you.
before we let Casey go, anybody have any questions or comments for Casey?
Casey, I got to know if you don't mind asking where, when I hear
Yeah.
15,000 net rentable square feet for 650 grand, I'm like, where is this unicorn
Um,
you're shopping in?
no, it was about 15,000 square feet.
Okay.
Yeah, 15,000. Is that what you said, or did you say 50?
Yeah. 15,000. 15,000
Oh,
for 650. Where is
oh,
it?
I'm sorry. It's in Christmas Valley, Oregon.
Oregon. Okay.
Yeah. So it's in the middle of nowhere. Is what's funny is I'm thinking for marketing, it's the only storage facility in this little community. And so I'm just gonna get on Google and my title is gonna be it's the best storage facility in Christmas Valley. I think I can claim that if it's the only one, but uh
So I'm going to go ahead and pause right there. So this is a two-sided coin, right? The positive is that the facility that Casey bought, this is the only storage facility in town, right? So it's great because if the residents there need storage, there's no competition. Obviously, they're going to go to Casey's facility. The flip side is that because there's no competition and the market is so small, all of your customers need to come from that immediate area. And because it's so small, that could potentially present a challenge. Right now, I think that that concern, that risk is mitigated because the facility historically, from an occupancy perspective, has performed well, and it's currently over 90% occupancy. And again, price and terms cures a lot, right? And so Casey was able to structure great terms. He also got it at a good price. 15,000 square foot facility. So I think he got it below replacement value, and so that's why this deal made sense.
yeah, I mean there's little I mean talk the population is 1,300 people. I mean
Okay.
it's not big, but there's I don't know, these little towns. It seems like even though I try to find spots by driving, I am searching online since I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the area in Oregon. I haven't branched out of Oregon yet, but that's kind of my next step. We're going to start doing that. But I really dive in online and just Google search like crazy in all these little towns. I kind of try to focus on the towns more that I think the big guys might not be going after. The bigger pop.
So Casey brought up a great point. The reason we like secondary and rural markets is because we're not going to be competing with the REITs, the real estate investment trusts that own Public Storage, Extra Space, Cube Smart, Life Storage, right? Those are REIT-owned facilities, which is one of the reasons I live in Miami, and I have really never looked for storage in Miami. It's a big metropolitan city, and when you are operating a facility and your competition is one of those REITs, first of all, those are Class A facilities. You're talking about deep pockets, and they typically play the game of bringing customers in at a really, really, really low rate, and then a month, 2 months, 3 months later, jacking up the rates. And you just don't want to put yourself in a position where you're competing on price, especially when you are likely looking for mom and pop operated facilities that are Class B, Class C, and now you're competing against a beautiful Class A looking facility that is able to slash prices to bring people in, and then they're going to play that game of jacking up the rates on them.
Populated areas, I think there's still hidden gems in the smaller communities. And I do think the smaller communities get overlooked. So I guess that might be a little tip. I don't know. Every state, every community is different. Every county is different. But,
Yeah.
some of these cities are like very saturated with storage, where some of the other little communities don't seem to be so much. And they're where the mom and pops are, that do zero marketing, and they're sitting at 100% occupancy, and they're under, they're not charging what they should be, things like that.
Yeah. Well, congrats, Casey, man. I'm pumped to just watch you continue to grow in this business, and now really start to dial in the operations part of it on the first one and the second one. And it's interesting. The first one you bought, I think, was 0% occupied, and this one is like over 90, I think you heard. So like, man, you are like two extremes, right?
Yeah, we're diving in like on this one. It's like we're already getting like trying to figure out everything with management and like collecting payments and like all that stuff. So, but I'm excited. Like, I'm glad to have that struggle. I'm glad to have to figure that out. I'd rather figure those issues out than I mean, the other challenge is going to be good, but figuring out something that's already operating, I feel is a little easier than trying to take something from 0% occupancy. So I'm going to have a whole nother set of challenges in the springtime on that one.
Dude, Kusky literally stole my thunder. I was just about to share that. I hope everybody heard the mindset and how he's communicating. Like, I'm glad to have this struggle. I'm glad to have this new set of challenges in front of me. That mindset right there is what's going to ensure that you succeed, right? It's like, I tell my daughters all the time, right? And I can't claim this quote. I forgot where I heard it, but your attitude determines your altitude. I'm sure many of you guys have heard that. And I absolutely love that mindset, man. Like I'm glad to have this struggle because there's people that would kill to be in that position to have this struggle. But to your credit, man, like many others here, you're doing the work, you're being consistent, you're not letting fear hold you back. And so proud of you, man. Let me help you now on the operations side. So we can definitely carve out time because I want to make sure that there's little simple things. And I want to encourage you to reach out to others who own a facility, Kusky, who's on this call, Andrew, Kenny, Wes, Todd, even Brian, right? Like anybody who owns a facility, so that you can extract and start to implement that in your business as well.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, to give you the community credit, like I posted in the school community about this deal a few months ago, and the guys helped me come up with a good solution on kind of presenting an offer, and they gave me some tips on some management stuff because that side of it is new to me. So yeah, I really appreciate any feedback I get in the future on that. That would be awesome. But also I do appreciate, like, there has been some help along the way from the crew too. So yeah, I don't get 100% of the credit. Like, you guys are I've definitely got some help. So I appreciate it. It's awesome.
Sweet, man. What do they say? So hopefully you enjoyed that and you got some value out of that interaction with KCN. So listen, if you are watching this and you're inspired by that, and maybe you've doubted your ability to be able to go out and find and buy your first storage facility, that is exactly what we do within our Storage Wins coaching community. So I want to invite you to book a free strategy call. Head over to storagewins.com/apply, because I can tell you that if I can do this, you can do this. If Casey can do this, you can do this. We are not special. We just follow the process that we teach within Storage Wins so that you can go out and replicate that success. And in summary here, drive for dollars, right? Look for storage, plant seeds with people, your friends, people in your network to text you about storage facilities. Don't feel and have the limiting belief that you need to have a bunch of money to be able to buy these storage facilities, because you can turn the seller into a bank in some cases. And there's a lot of different ways. And that's one of the things that we cover inside of our community. So you're only limited by what is in between your two ears, right? Like, it's just your thinking. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, I think you're really gonna like this one. And if you wanna go deeper and learn how you can buy your first self-storage facility, you're definitely gonna wanna check out this playlist. And I look forward to connecting with you on the next video.